Hello everybody, this is your weather woman, meteorologist Amy Metz. We are going to be looking at a couple of storms today. It is Freddy over here that has been going more than 10,000 kilometers at this point for more than a month. Started during a heat wave near Australia and traversed all of this Indian Ocean, went really close to Reunion Islands and Mauritius, crossed over Madagascar, did make a landfall in Mozambique, and is tottering back and forth, probably will end up going back inland toward the north. And because of that, going north, warmer this direction, it will get stronger. Now, off in the South Pacific, we've had two cyclones in a row. So Judy remnants are pretty far away, nearer to French Polynesia, but just kind of the lingering effects of that toward the north. But Kevin is still also spinning here. So that is then making quite a bit of rain in Fiji, Samoa, Fiji, and Vanuatu's finally starting to get a little bit of a break, but the northern portions of the islands up to Solomon Islands are still getting quite a bit of rain. There even looks to be like some more developments could occur here, and depending on how this tropical wave moves and when, which is something we can dig into here, this just might, become a big storm somewhere later. So things will start cooling down sooner than later out here, but right now there's a lot of strong storms. And even on that note, more atmospheric rivers will be pouring into the states because of all of the storms here. Now, even right outside Indonesia, there's been a growing plume. So that's another thing that really is something that should be watched for here, and that I'm circling with the mouse. And at the same time, a lot of moisture, this tropical moisture, when it moves northward and gets somewhere colder, it tends to make a lot of clouds and rain. That's why we keep getting these atmospheric rivers. Now with a couple of really strong low pressures off of the coast of the United States, it's pushing in a lot of this moisture that's actually from the tropics. Once it gets here, look at this explosion of snow. I'm working up here now. I'm actually moving up to almost Canada, and they're getting a lot of snowstorms. So it's going to be record amounts of snow, I feel like, in some areas here. Once again, over the next not just week, but few weeks. At the same time, we do have all of this going on here that's going to continue to get a little stronger. So we'll look more at that in just a bit. Wanted to go over the current time at each of those storms. In Fiji, it is 3:30, March 6th, and in Madagascar, it is 6:35 in the morning, March 6th. So we'll be taking a look at these now. First, I'll get to what's left over of Kevin because it is easier, I think, the easier one to deal with right now. But if we're looking at the surface winds on windy, then what we're seeing is that there's still the low pressure of Judy, yet another one even further away, and what's left of Kevin. Now, Kevin is one of those storms that how I was just mentioning going into the United States, that when the air is going from somewhere warmer and then going somewhere colder, it makes a lot of clouds there. So that's why these areas end up called troughs on this side of the trough. That's how we end up with a lot of rain and thunderstorms there. So if I actually switch right into the satellite here, we can then take a look at where the clouds are, and where we see red, it's usually really strong rain. And so zooming in, my mouse just drives me nuts. It's like backwards from every other mouse. So here, sorry, I do that a lot. And now all of that rain then right on top of Fiji is going to continue for a little bit. So I'll let this play for a little. It's going to loop the last 2 hours, and you'll see that it's really just a slow thing. So this is part of a very long wave, what's called jet flow, really high in the sky. Kind of what drives a lot of our weather patterns is these long waves. And so this is going to very slowly move away. It's going to be here for a while. So the most damaged portions of Vanuatu, these southern islands, are finally getting a break from the rain. But, I mean, there's still going to be a little bit more passing by in the next day or so. At this rate, I mean, it could be raining pretty heavily maybe into Tuesday, even in Fiji, and parts of Wednesday. I had already set up until Tuesday looking at how Kevin was kind of going so slow, and there has been a bit of a pushback of this overall toward New Zealand. We'll see how far that ends up sliding in with moisture, but I feel like a lot of this area is going to fill in with quite a bit of moisture in the next week. And so what I can do last is look at these winds up high, like I was just mentioning, that jet level that kind of helps drive the winds. So the low pressures like to be here down at the surface, down in these troughs, and then here's where a lot of that rain is going to be. And so once this moves away, if I start playing this out, we're now just a couple hours ahead. And then you see it's kind of slow, these things. And lately, especially with the big force that's over here, I feel like it's going to slow it down. This is kind of really going to push back a little. And so while most of the rain here is going to be Samoa, Tonga, French Polynesia, there's still going to be like on and off showers probably in Fiji. Yeah, until about Tuesday. So if you're looking down here, and I don't know if it shows, it does show the time. This is going to be East Coast time for the United States. So about a day behind. And so looking ahead, well, there's that big old massive thing. Yeah, look how it gets wrapped up together. So down at the surface, I bet that makes a really large pressure system. And it does, yeah. So this is how I was kind of imagining things. Well, not quite so many together. What happened here does actually have to do with space weather. This is the Space Weather Prediction Center, one of their websites that has a lot of forecasting information. And there's been a lot of solar flares, even in the last 7 days, an X class. So with this kind of stuff from the sun, sending this kind of material toward us, like this is electromagnetic energy, can increase our lightning, but this is a magnetic cloud. You can kind of see a little haze there. So depending on the magnetic structure of these things, especially if they have a southward field, that's a whole cloud coming toward us, full of plasma from the sun. I think it's so fascinating. The only problem then is if you have storms near you, it ends up kind of making them stronger. Now this guy Freddy is probably going to turn north and go stronger. And now that all of that's there, all of that, the extra solar storming, this is a very recent coronal mass ejection I'm just catching wind of now. That you have more information on space and earth weather on my Facebook group if you want to search that. But back to how it affects these storms is that it kind of like ends up, well, I've noticed, and I've seen a few studies about this, seems to be increasing some of our pressure systems. It can also increase the stuff in the air that helps form clouds, called cloud condensation nuclei. So if it's putting more hot stuff in our atmosphere, and we just talked about how hot air going and traveling toward the poles, kind of, it'll condense the air and makes a cloud, like we just said. Same difference with this stuff, really hot material from the sun interacting with our atmosphere. It will cool down rapidly and create clouds in some cases. So that's been something that's been studied. And with that being said, that's why these kinds of storms can randomly get extra large, or maybe spin off a few extra storms that would not have maybe been in that forecast a week before without the space weather affecting us. So here is one thing that I've been kind of suspecting, is that we would get a few spin-off lows. This is actually happening in the United States right now through this week. We're getting a few of these just trailing across North Dakota areas and our northern states. And so the same thing will probably happen here, where we don't have strong cyclones, but it's going to be just enough to stir up extra thunderstorms and keep things a little bit wet. So all in all, it's going to be like mostly wet days ahead, looking at how much satellite, how much moisture is in the air on the satellite. We can see that there's quite a bit more to the west, and so that'll help come toward Fiji over the next little bit. Now, off toward poor Madagascar, it just keeps getting battered here recently. And so even Mauritius, now I've had a lot of questions about the islands off the shore of Madagascar, and they've all had quite a bit of storms going on too, because of another trough like we were just talking about. And the way that there's been so many storms in the southern portion of Africa, it kind of helps, it's another force of its own that's going to help push these and stall them, kind of make them hang out there longer than they might have normally. So what that means is that this is going to continue to grow. until something. Let's look at the winds up top. That'll help me tell this story and figure out the forecast. So winds right now, I'm going back to now. There we go. So we should be seeing, there we go, our strong storm here. And then what's happening is a similar thing that we just saw in Fiji. Yeah, in fact, it is. So some of those middle level and upper level low pressures are going to continue spinning off of this hump, this hump of airflow, because there's such a big force here pushing back and forth, while at the same time, normally these jets would be going this way. And so it's kind of just it's going to end up being very stormy in these islands as well for the next, I would want to say, at least 4 to 5 days, quite a few rainy thunderstorm days. And then all in all, this Freddy is going to continue to be a monster for a while. It's been out there for more than a month. So Mozambique and areas inland that just got affected by it about a week or two ago, expect the same kind of areas to have the same kind of effects. And so it's going to be traveling up a different area, up a different direction. So the only thing that'll be really different is where all that water pushes into. It's going to, all of the water, excuse me that I'm laughing, I just was spinning the wrong way because I've been working in the northern hemisphere so much lately. So all of the water, I want to be very specific, it gets pushed up in a wall on this side where that wind is pushing in. So wherever that makes landfall, you're going to want to be very cautious on that southern portion of the eye wall. Now be careful, everybody. Enjoy your weather and however you can. I know there's a lot going on. For me, there's a ton going on. I'm about to move from right here up to here. After starting this and meeting you guys, Bula, Vinaka Fijian, it's been a pleasure working for you. I was living here at first. And so I'm moving my family again, and I've been really busy taking this new job in North Dakota as my husband retires from the Army. So it's been long and busy, and I wish everybody the best with these storms. I'll continue to forecast them, and now I'm remembering I wanted to see this one, and I'll bet it's going to get hung up a while because of all of this. Let's see, and probably get kind of big. Yeah, more storms. Yeah, what I'm curious about is if that low pressure will end up kind of keeping the moisture together and then becoming a problem down the road here as a larger storm. So I'll be keeping an eye on that area very closely, along with off the Philippines. So be safe as all of this is going on. You can always catch me on Facebook and find more information here and forecasts at my Weather Woman page. So best wishes to everybody. I think I answered all the questions, unless there's going to be new ones here from what I do with getting questions in the comments. Yes, Fiji rain, we hit that, and Mauritius, I had read those before. So I wish everyone the best with all of these storms. Stay safe and just keep on top of those forecasts and get out of the way if you need. So have a great day.